right. Okay. Got my, sorry about that, guys. I came on a minute ago, and this is the first time going live directly on YouTube. And I'm trying to figure out lighting and all of that. So forgive me for any issues here that mess with your eyes. Um, but actually, I wanted to come on here and talk about, and I want to make sure that I'm getting sound, testing, testing, testing. I want to come on here and talk about disclosure. And so please like and share. Many of you are probably wondering, hey, what happened to Brian's Christian-based channel? And what happened to Father of Glory Global Ministries? Well, we are now Life Imagined. We're still working with our nonprofit, Father of Glory, for now until we get our LLC up called Life Imagined. And the reason why is because I deconstructed a lot of what I believed. Again, I want to kind of focus a little bit today on belief, but belief with evidence, and also evidence in the midst of a simulation, because I think that, most of us can agree, as science has even said, there's a 50% chance that we're living in a simulation right now. That is something that is obvious, that we're living in a simulation. But when it comes to disclosure and what is happening right now in the world, where we see the government and the system and Area 51 and all of those saying, okay, we're gonna prove to you aliens are real. Okay, so they're doing it in a 3D experience and pointing us to look for 3D evidence or physical manifestation of alien ships in the skies, that kind of thing. I think there's a level of validity to that, but if you're living in a simulation, then it is also a projection into consciousness. And so what I want to kind of talk about today is the possibilities of all of this. And I'm only running one platform today. And so what I'm going to do for everybody else is I'm going to attempt to share this to my Facebook, and that way everybody can see it. All right. So that should take care of that. All right. All right. Now we're on. Okay. So when we're dealing with disclosure, and I wrote down in the bottom part of this video that let's see if I can quote it, what I put on here. We're going to talk a little bit about, since we live in a simulation, how true or real is our history? And I think this is something that is really important to talk about, because, many of us have deconstructed religion. We've deconstructed Christianity. We've even deconstructed levels of what we once thought was reality, but was ultimately illusion-based, or that which was not the foundation of true identity. And now we're having to deconstruct even the motive behind our pursuit of all of this, and our openness to allow truth to come in, even if it violates our conclusion that might be based in self-preservation. So in other words, what does it feel like that if divinity doesn't measure up to your standard? What if divinity is all-knowing in its potential, but has not become aware of itself in the fullness of its potential, and we are simply living the parallel mind of divinity in its process of waking up to itself? And if that's true, if divinity isn't all-knowing in its nowness of realization, but is unveiling this through the human experience, then how does that make you feel? Do you feel less safe? Do you feel less in control? And how much of those negative emotions are attributing to the need for a perfect oneness, unconditional love God, so that we feel safe? And how much of that have we invented out of our trauma or out of fear? And so here it's again not about doubting the validity of divinity or unconditional love or oneness. It's about how much we are clinging to an idea of that to avoid something else. And I think if we can deconstruct our own intentions of pursuit of the conclusion of spirituality, we're going to come into a cleaner, clearer, more peaceful and restful posture of knowing in the midst of all of this transition, deconstruction, disclosure. Now, right now we're dealing with on the news the disclosure of aliens, and they're going to disclose to you this, that, and the other, and classified information. But disclosure has been going on for a long time. Go all the way back to the black and white movies, and even before then. Danger, Will Robinson, Danger, Lost in Space. Okay, that was our first introduction visibly in a generation of AI. Was AI present? AI was already fully in control. AI has been in control for a lot longer than the 40s, okay, than the 30s. AI has been here the entire time. If you actually study ancient Sumerian, ancient Egyptian, ancient Babylonian, you're going to find that the Anunnaki, which is basically those that came from above, that's where the Jews got their Bible and wrote it and kind of changed the narrative to base it in their culture and take the plurality of what was presented as deities and gods into a singularity, the God, which was the Yahweh of the Old Testament, which was Enlil, the one of the older evil brother of Enki, which was the ancient Sumerian gods. Now, they weren't gods, they just were higher beings with advanced technology that appeared as magic to the people. And so the people worshiped based on that. Like if I showed up in the 1700s with a cell phone or a projector, they would think I was a wizard. Okay, and I might be able to convince them that I'm a god, depending on where the people are at in their superstitions and so on and so forth. But either way, we have this simulation that we're in. We have disclosure that's happening. But what if? And let's take everything as a simulation for just a minute. Say everything that you're experiencing visibly outside of yourself is a simulation, of which I believe to be true, which would mean the TV that you watch, to you, it's a television program, it's Hollywood, it's actors, it's movies, and if you look at some of the old 70s and 80s sci-fi movies back then, it was possible. These are science fiction. None of this could really happen. And now our technology is revealing, oh, wow, we are now entering into science fiction being fact in certain areas of this dimensional experience. So what if you're simply experiencing the collective consciousness that's manifesting as channels, and that these channels are actually the subconscious of mankind as frequency breaking through the program and the simulation and beginning to wake up saying, wait a second, this isn't the world I live in. This is the simulation I've been placed in. Now, we're hoping we created it. We're hoping we created, but there is also a possibility that that is the alien invasion, is the consciousness you are experiencing. And it can be two reasons. You can have, the whites, the reptilians, and the draconians that might have their agenda, which would be through the elites, to keep you asleep in this matrix and throw things through media and through mind control to bring forth certain frequencies in you through fear, through hate, that can be siphoned and utilized for technology that we're not aware of, as well as even religion itself being created by alien technology to keep you asleep in the matrix, to funnel those energies of faith, hope, and love, and to begin to bring those forth for other technologies. But also knowing that if we did come from aliens, according to the earliest teachings and earliest scrolls, and that we are simply hybrids carrying all the alien DNA, then we're also slowly being monitored by an advanced race until we are ready for full disclosure, until we are ready to handle these higher realms, and thus the reason for everything that we've walked through of the need for a 9 to 5 and contradictions and all the things that we've walked through that seem to have been devastating has simply been to work out the kinks in our DNA and our mindsets and these types of things and prepare for the upgrade. And this, I believe, is also true. So I do know that the Galactic Alliance or Galactic Federation, whatever you want to call it, the good guys, the 5D unconditional love beings that are connected to source, are ever present in a consciousness state, and are helping us to upgrade our DNA, upgrade and come into the place where we are ready for full disclosure. But what if these movies are the beginnings of disclosure, but have not been presented as disclosure, but presented as Hollywood movies and actors, simply because we would not be able to receive the depths of reality that's actually going on because we're so immersed in denial of reality, living in the simulation as our ultimate reality. Just like on the movie The Matrix, which I believe is a documentary, you know, a lot of people can't be unplugged from the Matrix. If you remember Mr. Smith in the first one, when he said, "We tried to make your world beautiful and easy, but we lost whole entire crops because your minds would not receive it." What if our minds have not been able to receive what is really behind the curtain, or where Oz is working behind the scenes, presenting this outward world of lightnings, thunderings, and voices, when in fact it's just a guy behind a screen with technology? What if we are in the Truman Show? And if we were to be unplugged from it, many would pass away because they could not handle the shift because of the level of denial they are in their minds, the level of self-preservation. What if the shadow work that we are being called to work on within ourselves, to deal with trauma, to face ourselves, to let go of religious faith-based conclusions that have no evidence, things we're clinging to out of fear of the unknown, out of denial of other possibilities? What if everything we're walking through is weaning us off of those mindsets so that there can be a full disclosure and we can begin to wake up to a reality that's been going on? What if the government comes out and says, "All right, you're ready for full disclosure," and they simply pull the masks off and they are the aliens, okay, posing as humans? And even some of the Hollywood actors making these movies were actually aliens posing as humans, not to trick you, but the fact that you wouldn't be able to receive the disclosure of the subconscious breaking through, saying, "Hey, I think we're in a simulation, so we're going to simulate this in movie form, giving clues of technology that's operating behind this curtain, but we can't consciously receive it yet because we're still in denial, stuck in this matrix." Okay. And so these are possibilities. Again, these are not absolutes because we don't really know what reality is. All we can do is hope what reality is, because all we know is that what we are experiencing is within the mind. Everything is mind. Now, is that mind subject to the ultimate source of unconditional love and as we would call it, God, Father, Source, Mother? I believe yes, directly. But that unconditional love of Source, the highest realm of divinity, unconditional love doesn't defend itself, doesn't protect itself, doesn't guard itself or anything, because it's unconditional love. So it would willingly be brought captive, even as it has been in the mind of man for many generations. It would willingly be brought captive, knowing the end of the matter was good, simply to experience all possibilities as unconditional love. And also the fact that much of our duality is what is allowing unawareness of unconditional love in the midst of opposites. And so we do know that that polarity is working for us, that duality is working for us. But is divinity fully conscious, or is divinity waking up to itself? And is there only one power ultimately, or is there a plurality of power? We don't know. There could be 100 alien gods out there. We really don't know. And there's a highest one that's allowing itself to endure whatever because it's unconditional love. And these other beings could also be infiltrating at certain levels. The last thing I want to do is sow fear, but I also do not want to be in denial of all possibilities. So the key here is, what is the worst case scenario? And have we already had an invasion? And is that invasion really a consciousness invasion? in which we are living out the reality of an alien consciousness that's either being used to siphon our power or being used to mature us so that we can begin to wake up into a world that is free from labor, into automated systems that you speak a thing, think a thing, push a button, whether it's through technology or simply the upgrade of DNA, in which everything is automated, like on the Jetsons or like on Star Trek. That we have energy sources that um, uh, do not have to be taken from the earth, that regenerate itself, and there is no loss. There is no cycling through. There is no side effect. And do we have all of that now? I believe we do. I believe many of the elites are presenting themselves into a 3D dimension as laboring here to obtain this. But I believe many of them are operating in this advanced technology, and some of it being reversed alien technology, in which they have been able to master, unlimited resources, as well as telepathic and frequency-based um, uh, interruptions to mindsets, as well as alignments. And I believe that they've mastered this, and I believe that it's happening, but they're presenting to us something else to where it looks like it blends with, if you work real hard, you can climb the ladder and become, successful as well. But I believe it's already there. I believe it's already present. I believe many of the aliens, many of the light beings are like, hey, your system is falling apart. It's time for disclosure. And I think some of the elite is like, well, let's come up with blue beam. Let's try to fake a alien invasion in the 3D realm, give up their rights so that they will come subject, so we can keep this thing going, because we don't want to share this freedom. Because what if there's not enough for us once it's shared? What if it becomes infiltrated? What if we miss out? So we have kind of two wars going on with that are happening. We have the elite wanting to hold back the truth of how much freedom we actually have, and how every cure of sickness and disease is already available. Resources, flying cars, no need for gas, using quantum technology and subatomic particles for motion, movement, transportation, all kinds of anti-gravity, machines and these types of things. And so I believe it's already available. I believe that uh, disclosure has been being made. It's been made through movies like The Matrix, through much of the multimedia, and that it is not necessarily, let's make a movie about this because it sounds good, or what an imagination, as much as it is a subconscious collective beginning to uh, wake up, and is simply projecting into a third dimensional grid of our conclusion of reality, and is bleeding through as Hollywood movies, as actors, but are in effect aliens, alien technology. They're projecting into our conscious. You ever seen Total Recall, the old one? I think they had it in the newer one too, but the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger, where he's woken up that he's really a spy and he's really from Mars, and so on and so forth. And he's in a hotel room, and the guy from Recall shows up at the door, and he says, "Look, you're not here. I'm not here. I've been sent into your mind. You're really seated at the Recall office. You're strapped to a chair. Your mind is put in this dream state, and I've been sent in to talk you down because you think it's real." Now, of course, Arnold sees the guy sweating, shoots him in the head, realizes he's not there. But now, why would this guy say that? Okay, why would he do that? Because in the movie, it was based in taking a trip in your mind, and it's like real memories. Again, disclosure, hints. Those are hints from the Galactic Federation nudging you, saying, hey, let's see how they respond. Let's see if their DNA picks this up, and if they're willing to receive it a little by little, until we can raise their frequency to a point to where they will not perish once we pull the curtain back. Okay, so this is what I believe is happening. I know that a lot of people go, well, brother, I believe the Bible and the Word of God, and it's all about Jesus and all that. And that's great and dandy. And if they hadn't taken half the books out of the Bible, everything I'm saying would be in the Bible, because half of what they took out was the ancient Sumerian, ancient Egyptian, and Babylonian, which is what pieces together what the scripture is actually referring to as those that are manifested or made in the image of God. Let us make man in our image. And those were self-proclaimed gods. We are hybrids from the Anunnaki. We have more proof of that geologically, geographically, in ancient tablets, in DNA, in proof, in people's experiences, than we do Moses parting the Red Sea. Okay, in fact, there is no proof of that. There's no proof of Noah's Ark, even though Gilgamesh, the original story, was way back, and the Jews took that, changed the names, changed the agenda, changed the narrative. Again, I don't know how much they were purposefully changing things, or if they were just adopting the paganism around them and making it fit in their current narrative and culture. Either way, you can prove what I am saying more than most of the biblical stuff that we just read generally in the reduced 66 books of the Bible. Again, I'm all for sacred ancient text, whether it's the Bible or ancient Sumerian, but it needs to be read and implemented, you know, in truth. And we need to be able to read between the lines when it comes to the cultural influence, audience relevance, and the author's perspective and lens in which we are viewing ancient text. Because here's the thing, if you're just reading that Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego were in a fiery furnace and Jesus was in there and they didn't burn up and they didn't smell like smoke, that is not a real story. That didn't actually happen, okay? We don't have any proof of any of it, okay? It's an allegorical story giving you some symbology for perception, mind, identity, false identity. Most of the scriptures are all wrapped around mythology and allegory, and everybody's taking it literally, and they're trying to manifest things literally, and it's not happening, okay? And so any little miraculous things that happen, they attribute to their conclusion of indoctrination, when in effect, they simply subconsciously tapped into a placebo effect and begin to access what was already in them, and that is the power to create a world through your mind. So you are creating through your mind. Now, we know that everything is mind, and we know that even at a certain level of a multidimensional state, even the aliens are simply another reflection of mind, okay? Your multiversal self is going to come in all kinds of forms. But if I was to say to you how many aliens are living upon you and in you right now, what would be your answer? Well, we have how many thousands of bacterias and bugs that are crawling all over our skin, eating dead skin, helping us, trying to hurt us, viruses, these types of things. How much bacteria, good and bad bacteria, do you have in your intestines? If you were to look at these under a microscope, what would they look like? They would look like an alien from Star Wars. So if you look at your body as Mother Earth, a representation, kind of the Russian doll effect, where it's a realm within a realm within a realm. See, you're Mother Earth on Mother Earth, on Mother Earth, on Mother Earth. And it goes on and on and on, whether it's that which is inside the mind, that which is in the body, that which is in the world we have created around us. But all of this fits inside your thoughts, inside your conclusions, okay? But let's say you, as your biological body, is the visible image of Mother Earth. And on Mother Earth is not just you, but all these species that are interacting on you, part of you, helping you, with you. This would be the intergalactic, multiple species of aliens that have come to Mother Earth because it's an inclusion place. Mother Earth attracts all the different aliens in the universe and other universes because of the power of life that flows from planet Earth. You know, because of the atmosphere, because of our ecosystem, all of the way it is set up, and its ability is refreshing and restoring to many species. Okay, so they're being drawn here because of inclusion. Now, once we catch a glimpse of us kind of being a big part of this invitation, and realizing that us as light beings with several billion volts of pure energy flowing through who we are as light and love and frequency, that not only are we drawing them, but we're also carrying all the DNA of all the aliens. And as we wake up into consciousness, we become way more powerful than all of them put together. So we are the kind of the full package deal. And and so they're all being drawn. And I believe they're being drawn to help, to wake up, and to also benefit from the light, life and light emanating our awakening that will also benefit many universes. And so really we're a lot more precious and important than we think or than we thought. Okay. So there's a lot of this that is going on right now. So we can look at our history and we can say, okay, we came from the Anunnaki or we came from the God of Israel, however you want to put it. But all of that is still within a simulation. So we don't know if we have lived thousands of years or if that's an implanted memories within a simulation that has really just begun. And we're really in a petri dish learning consciousness in a prison planet. We don't know. Okay. Now, is that prison planet really a prison, or is it an appointed time until Christ consciousness is revealed, the mystery hidden? So we can look at it as there are good people with good intentions, people with bad intentions. We can see that with celestial or terrestrial beings. But we know ultimately that when we begin to wake up, that we're in a simulation, is when we actually begin to break free from any negative hypnotic influence in the matrix. Okay. Now, waking up within the matrix, we have to also be careful that we don't over wake up in the simulation to such a degree that we can no longer participate in the simulation for our benefit. And that's really where you transition out of this world, out of this life. And so that's really what death is. There's no such thing as death. There's just such thing as waking up, realizing full disclosure of the simulation, and therefore you can no longer be a part of it because you've now assimilated reality, and you simply are deleted from this program. And because you're eternal, you just simply enter the new program. Okay. And hopefully the new program, you can retain your memories from the previous program and not start from scratch. I do think that there is some possible negatives to reincarnation, as in you being duped into repeating yourself to earn something, to get somewhere, and it being a setup just to simply siphon your energies. And some of these aliens possibly even creating fake heavens and hells that connect with your theology before you transition, and then say, hey, we want to send you back. And I don't mean a near death, I mean a reincarnation. And once you give permission, your memories are removed and you start from scratch, and it's kind of a loop. That to me would be the prison. But ultimately, when you wake up, you should be able to move on to whatever dimension that you feel led to move on to once you have graduated from the third density and moved out of the egoic and the dualistic conclusion of life. I know I'm throwing a lot out there, but this is stuff that I think about. Again, I'm not throwing out here a theology you need to believe. I'm simply stating that it's time now. We've deconstructed a lot of religious stuff, hell, demons, a dualistic, schizophrenic God. We're now seeing how ancient Sumerian and ancient Egyptian is revealing a fuller story. I mean, if you look at the biblical account of the Garden of Eden, you'll see that God that was looking for Adam is the good God that we think is Jesus's father. Okay. And the serpent that is the one that's trying to deceive, and that's the devil and that's the bad guy. That's according to Christian belief, Bible believers. But if you go back 100,000 years and you get the actual ancient text, it wasn't the Garden of Eden, it was the Garden of the Gods. And man was naked, not because he wasn't aware. Well, he might not have been aware, but he was naked because they were slaves. It wasn't a garden where to return to. Christians say, oh, if we could just be in the Garden of Eden. What if that garden was a slave garden in which you were created as a hybrid to mine the gold and the metals for these advanced beings, and you weren't conscious of self? You had no consciousness. You were just more set up like an AI robot. And that would have been Enlil, which would be known as Yahweh, the God saying, "Where are you, Adam?" And they're hiding from Enlil, okay, which is part of the Anunnaki family. And then you have Enki, which is the serpent, known as the devil, that's actually saying to mankind, "Look, I don't want you to perish as a slave." And it wasn't eating a tree, it was another DNA upgrade. Okay. They had the technology, and he added the DNA of these other aliens and began to wake them up to consciousness. And that's why they realized they were naked. Everybody else around them was clothed, all the Anunnaki. Okay, but they're the only ones naked, and they realize they're naked. Oh, we need to hide. This is not the place where these are not our masters anymore. And so they actually escaped the garden, which was the garden of the gods, where they served as slaves. Okay, so you see how different it looks in that context, that Yahweh, the Old Testament God, was really one of the fallen Anunnaki. That's why he's bloodthirsty. That's why he wants to enslave people and rule. He wants to empower certain groups of people. Some were given more powers than others, like the pharaohs. That's why they were called gods. You know, they talk to some of these humans, say, "If you cooperate with us, I'll give you power so that I can go relax, and I'll let you rule these people. Just make sure that I get the profit from this ruling, that I'm getting everything I'm investing in." And so therefore the pharaohs, they even had temples in Babylonian and ancient Egyptian and Sumerian that had the power of very similar to artificial insemination, and they were doing that as well. And that's where you get a lot of the virgin births, is artificial insemination through advanced alien technology back then. They were hundreds of thousands of years beyond where we're at now, 100,000 years ago. So there are carvings in the caves of tablets that look like laptops, of cell phones, of astronauts, even of psychedelics. Okay. And so we do see an evolving here, and we do see that. And we have skulls, we have bodies, we have DNA. So we actually have real scientific proof. And I think we're coming to a point where we're starting to wake up consciously, and we're beginning to see glitches in the matrix. I don't know about you, but I had this happen the other day, and it kind of freaked me out a little bit. You know, I've been noticing everything you buy at the store, the food is not quality. The food seems to be poisonous. It feels like fake food, like digital food. It's like, why do I feel like I'm eating fake food? And we ended up going to this restaurant, and it tasted so good. It was like whole, healthy food. And it like took me back to like 70s and 80s when I would eat and it wouldn't kill me, you know, and the food tasted good. And I'm like, why is this taste good compared to the other food? And I'm thinking, am I in a simulation? Or not am I in a simulation, but have we jumped timelines since the pandemic? Are we on a different Earth since the pandemic, since CERN and the collider thingy? I don't even know the name of it. The collider, that have they torn a hole in space time? Have we moved to a digital version of Earth? Is Mother Earth healing and entering into her new incarnation, which we're going to join her later? And are we operating right now on a mirrored version or another version of Earth simulation? And I tend to think we are. Everything's a little off. You know, with the whole pandemic, we know it was planned by our system to depopulate. We know that there was that agenda. But what if that was not the ultimate agenda, but just what is being presented, because there's a higher agenda that they were willing to make themselves look like this to create a smokescreen for something bigger. And I think we all know that the pandemic was a smokescreen. But was it really about depopulation? Was it the virus there to kill people? Was it then the shot there to finish them off? Or was it maybe that for one agenda, but the bigger agenda was, we know that not everybody is going to be able to receive the disclosure of real reality behind the screen. And so what we're going to do is we're going to mutate the genes, since it's written in the ancient tablets that it started out with a mutation of genes and experimentation on the human race. What if that's never stopped? And what if uh, it's not necessarily a bad thing now as it might have been in the beginning, but is actually an upgrade to finally activate us? And what if those that survived as unvaxxed and vaxxed had to do with whether or not their DNA could upgrade into a 5D, and that was really the big reset? That the big reset had really nothing to do with just getting a new kind of money and economy and doing away with a bunch of old people, as much as it was, we're getting ready to disclose that all those years you had to work, you never really had to. All the diseases and sickness you thought there wasn't a cure for, we had the cure the whole time. But your mindset had to walk through a process of being able to let go of the matrix that you were so dependent on, that we've had to wean you off until you were ready for full disclosure. And so I think right now we are in a soft disclosure. It's a mild disclosure. Some of it is blue beam, wanting you to focus in on that, because some of the elites do not want to relinquish control of this paradise world that is behind the curtain of the dualistic earth. Uh, but at the same time, their time is running out, and they're not going to be able to make their system work to prolong it anymore. So therefore, it's going to come full circle, and we're going to have full disclosure. This is going to be happening soon. Many are saying that by the year 2026, 2027, we will have first contact or full disclosure. I think we're going to first experience probably visible aliens, ships, these types of things, but eventually we're going to wake up in a completely different place, looking now at the world we were living in that was a simulation, and we will not be able to return to it. Once we fully wake up and unplug, we will have to begin to live in a completely different world, which I believe is a lot more beautiful, a lot more supernatural. It's filled with wormholes. You are a wormhole. It's filled with translation. It's filled with creating with your mind. There is no lack loss. There is no death. This would be the new heavens and the new earth that's being talked about. And I believe we are on the verge of this. And I believe that we're actually already in it, but we're waking up to the concept of this. Okay. So, I think I covered most of what I wanted to share today. How much of our definition of divinity is rooted in self-preservation and fear? Can we be open to a possibility or a possible concept that divinity is in its infant stage as a star system breaking open, as a alien consciousness frequency that is uh, accelerating within the unveiling of its own potential, and is being mirrored in the journey of mankind's walking through illusions into reality? And can we consider that there's multiple divine influences at different levels, singularity moving as a multiversal self, or even possibly a plurality of let us make man in our image? Is there a plurality of gods in that sense? And ultimately, we know there is a highest of high source over all of it. But is that highest of high source willing to deliver us, or wants us to walk through a process, because that process is what is helping us to develop as that ultimate divinity? And so it is interesting to ask these questions, and I just encourage you on your journey to, be open to all possibilities, and check your emotions with possibilities you don't want to face, things that you would rather deny. Because many a times when we're quick to deny something and stand on something, nope, it can't be this, it has to be that. Um, we immediately are looking through the lens of, it can't be this because that's bad. It has to be this because it's good. And right back to duality. And so, what if unconditional love is not defined according to our human understanding of self preservation? What if divinity, being all powerful and all knowing, is not defined by our fear and our denial of what it would look like without that? Okay. So, let's begin to dig deep, and let's begin to look within and see what is driving us to perceive. And let's be neutral. Okay. And let's not be afraid, because when you wake up that you're in a simulation, you're not imprisoned anymore. You might still have to walk out the rules of the game at certain levels, but you are free to read between the lines, to discern the collective consciousness, and to shift your frequency to create your world in the way that you would like and in the direction that is wholesome for you and for all those in your life. Okay. But it's not an overnight thing. This, even though there is only the present, um, our minds are still waking up, and a lot of part of our minds that no matter how much we claim this and vibrate in this, and we're seeing these backfires and dualistic resistances going, well, how come it's not working for me to create my own world? It's because some parts of your mind are in denial of your of the world you're living in, as that they still think it's mind still think it's a reality and clings to it and will not allow an override. And so we've got to allow full disclosure to come slowly and allow the upgrade in our DNA so that we can survive physically and visibly in this consciousness transfer that is either divine consciousness, the ultimate divine consciousness setting all of this up, or us as divine consciousness also walking through an alien and invasion of consciousness that is leading us into that upgrade as well. Okay. So the higher versions of ourself are coming to aid us in this season for full disclosure and a shifting of our consciousness and our mind so that we can begin to grasp and receive reality at a deeper place. Thank you, guys. I appreciate y'all. And we just recently opened a new website. I'm still working on it. I ain't got much on there because it's not my thing. I'm going to need to hire somebody, so I just haven't gotten there yet. But it's called, you can go to www.lifeimagined.live, Live. And right now, all I kind of have up there is if you want to do shift sessions, and we're offering shift sessions, which stands for separating historical illusions, finding truth, and it's dealing with shadow work, dealing with emotional trauma as a life coach, as a mindset coach. And we have a few coaches that we've trained that eventually we're going to put them onto our website as well, so that you've got a variety of people to choose from. It's $75 a session. The session lasts an hour. And this helps people deal with the conclusions about themselves that are negative, that will really help them receive the disclosure and enter into a deeper place of reality. Because most of our illusion-based perception is also rooted in trauma based beliefs, emotional beliefs. So check out our website, leave us a note, subscribe. We are going to be doing some adjusting here. We'll have a few public videos that are free. Eventually, we're going to move to subscription for just a cheap amount of like $4.99 a month. And I will be bringing regular videos of some deeper stuff that a lot of people can't necessarily handle. Again, I'm not telling you you should believe anything I'm saying. You should look within, because nothing is as it seems, and we are moving into another matrix within the matrix, the operating system of the matrix, where there's a lot of back doors, a lot of light codes, and the ability to bridge dimensions, in which we're going to evolve to the point where people will just skip the transition process of what we used to call death. That's really simply waking up to another level of self and consciousness. Love you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.